Monster Hunter World and Monster Hunter World Iceborne has obviously brought a lot of attention to the Monster Hunter series as a whole. It's done the series nothing but good, in all honesty. But of course, with any successful franchise, the movie industry has to get involved in some form or another. And that is now the case with the Monster Hunter series. Now, the news of the Monster Hunter film has been around for a while, and I've kind of not really paid it too much attention for numerous reasons. But some of you may be wondering what I think about it, so that's what I want to discuss in this video today. Now, when it comes to movies, I may be seen as a little bit of a movie snob. I studied film and television in college and uni with the intent of going into the film industry itself. Obviously things didn't turn out that way, but nonetheless the education gave me insight into how various film industries work, as well as the whole process when it comes to making movies. As a result though, it's kinda jaded me to all but the best of movies out there. I don't think movies are as good as they once were, and unfortunately, learning how movies are made takes away a lot of the magic. At least it did for me. So when it comes to the Monster Hunter movie, I am not that optimistic if I'm honest. There are multiple reasons for this. First of all is it's a video game movie. Video game movies are not normally the highest quality, in all honesty. Yes, there are a few exceptions, and I do myself have a few guilty pleasures, like the Silent Hill movie, but on the whole, most video game movies turn out a little bit subpar, in all honesty. They normally always fail to live up to the actual video game that they're based off of. Mind you, this is because normally video games have a lot longer to tell their story and is a much more interactive medium than a movie, so it draws players in, makes them feel more a part of the world, makes them more attached to characters, so on and so forth. Similar to how most movies that are based on books fail to live up to the book version. So that's my first concern. The next concern is how they're going about the story. They are using a stepping stone of having American soldiers transported to the Monster Hunter world. Now I can understand in some respects why they've done this. It's a narrative tool to put people who are not familiar with a world or an environment, such as say the Monster Hunter World franchise, into the shoes of a character who is in the same position, so to speak. These soldiers obviously have no experience with the world of Monster Hunter, so when they get drawn into it, the audience should be able to sympathise with them as they'll be in a similar position of being complete strangers. Now this is fine, although personally I feel this is a little bit of a lazy way to tell a story. Given enough time and enough effort, using enough mise-en-scène and other storytelling tools, we could have had a story that focuses maybe on a young hunter and the audience learns about the world and that hunter's life just from him going about his day-to-day business. But that is a rabbit hole I'd prefer not to go down to, as I could rant about it for a while. But the one aspect of this area which may be good is that there is rumours, I'm not 100% sure, but apparently the Monster Hunter language is going to be used by the actual hunters in the movie. The Artemis character, played by Mila Jovovich, is obviously going to be speaking English, and apparently there's going to be a language barrier, which kind of makes sense, although if they had made the movie just using the Monster Hunter world and not bringing our reality into it, they wouldn't have to do this language subplot in the first place. I also think it's a little bit stereotypical and overused to use the US military for our main protagonists, in all honesty. But this may help the movie perform better in the US at least. I mean, there are other aspects of the movie as well. For example, some of the weapons, i.e. the dual blades, look a bit like chicken drumsticks, so they can look a little bit off, shall we say. This doesn't apply to all the weapons, and some of the character designs and actual costumes look fantastic. The handler, for example, as well as the actual hunter character, their outfits look akin to what we would see in the game, so they fit really well. Sticking with more positive things as well, the actual monsters themselves look really good. However, we'll have to see how they interact with the environments to see if the CGI is up to par. From the trailers though, they look quite good. But I have heard though that there are not going to be many monsters featured in the movie itself. We obviously have Rathalos, Gormagala, Diablos, so there's going to be a limited amount of them. Nonetheless, this isn't necessarily a bad thing, as it doesn't oversaturate the amount of monsters we have in the movie and can make for a more condensed but meaningful story. On the flip side though, some of the CGI looks a little bit weird on some of the other characters. The Meowscular chef in some respects I didn't think looked too hot, but we'll have to wait and see how that works out. Now, one of the biggest aspects that is a little bit of a turn off for me is the creative team behind the movie. Whilst it's having the support of the developers and Capcom itself, It's being made by the same people who made the Resident Evil franchise. And whilst I can say that the first Resident Evil movie was kind of a guilty pleasure, I don't think it was good, but I kind of enjoyed it. After that, it did the Resident Evil games no justice, in all honesty. And I fear the same is going to happen to the Monster Hunter World movie and the Monster Hunter series. There's already plans for a sequel to this movie, even though this hasn't even come out yet, which makes me worried. The director, Paul W.S. Anderson, at one point I didn't mind. I enjoyed his movie Event Horizon, for example. Also, in my childhood, I kind of admired Anderson for taking a crack at making a Mortal Kombat movie, which isn't exactly a great movie, but it has a novelty factor to it, as it was one of the first video game movies I ever saw. But the majority of his work unfortunately feels a little bit hollow, which is sad to see when he's adapting franchises that you personally are invested in, such as the Resident Evil franchise, or in this case the Monster Hunter franchise. But his track record, as well as putting his wife Mila Jovovich in leading roles, gets me worried. I also worry about how the character of Artemis, who's played by Mila, is going to work out. I hope she doesn't turn into a Mary Sue who is great at everything she does. I hope there's a little bit more development, that she struggles to learn the ways of the hunter in the film, but of course we'll have to wait and see. Nonetheless, I don't have very high hopes for the Monster Hunter movie. However, the plus side of this is that potentially this movie could get more people into the game franchise, which would be the best outcome in all honesty. People who haven't heard of Monster Hunter before may pick this up thinking it's a kaiju kind of Godzilla sort of movie, and as long as the movie can spark just the slightest bit of interest in them, then they may decide to check out the games, which in turn will expand the community, which overall would be great. Let's just hope that the newcomers to the game don't expect to find US military equipment to take on the monsters in the game. But the Monster Hunter movie is released soon. It's coming out in various places across the month of December and onwards, so it's going to be interesting to see how this all pans out. I believe the initial release of the movie will be the 3rd of December over in Germany, so I'm looking forward to reading some reviews. On top of that, a reminder as well, we do have a crossover event in Monster Hunter Iceborne with the Monster Hunter movie. This will be releasing on the 4th of December, so even if the movie doesn't turn out to be that great, at least we'll have some new event quests to take part in. Like I said, for the movie itself, I'm not that optimistic. But I'd love to hear your thoughts on the movie. Are you excited to see it? Are you going to see it? Are you going to completely skip it out? Leave a comment down below. And until next time, I've been Darcblade, bringing you my thoughts on the Monster Hunter movie. Hope you enjoyed the video. Thanks for watching, subscribe and like for more.